Should you be buying this dip on the SpaceX stock price here? In this video, let's identify not just from the lens of technicals. I do want to go over the mechanics and architecture of SpaceX instrument itself, because yes, the price action will tell us everything ahead of time, but we do have some more elements at play for a stock like an IPO, I was gonna say newly processed IPO, but you get my point. It's a newly incepted instrument in the market, and so there are IPO structures. So in this video, we will get a picture of bit of ahead in time, how you can expect SpaceX to behave, and we'll pair that with the technicals, because is this a buying opportunity, these pullbacks, or you are better off waiting? How you should approach trading and long term, all of that will be covered in this video. But before going further, as always, none of this is any financial advice, only for education purposes, just sharing my opinion. Please do your own thing. With that, also please hit the like and subscribe. That helps out a lot. All right, guys. So with that, let's jump right into it. So SpaceX, today is the 5th day of SpaceX trading in the market. Now, I have told you previously that how everyone was telling you not to buy, but I mentioned that it has more likelihood to go up. It did go up. Okay, and thereafter, let's get to the hourly interval. In my last few videos, I have pointed out that how we are building up some multi-day weakness here, okay, which we have continued to go on that multi-day weakness. With that, I also mentioned $176 area, which I have even told you two, three days ago when price was here. I said that, guys, it's gonna stay overall bullish as we stay above 176. We continued up, and then multi-day weakness started to come from the zone around 194, and I said that yes, we are in the multi-day weakness here, we are getting down there, but $176 until there, overall structure can still hold. Where are we seeing that bounce today build up? At 176 area, guys. Okay, that's why I'm telling you already ahead of time what you can expect in the price action, and or I should say my tools are telling me. All right, so now before we go further, is this the dip buying opportunity? I want to actually get a bit more understanding for you on the structure of SpaceX. Okay, so because this is an IPO that is currently only trading at a float of 4% to 7%, give or take. Okay, there are some, the added volatility to make the price sustain a certain zones. Bank how had those ability in the early few days, and which they used. So though it was originally at 4%, give or take, it is to some degree released until 7% as well, the size of the float. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means a lot of stuff that we'll go over in this video. You'll have full understanding, but stay with me, okay? It means when you have a less of a float, which is like how many shares are tradable in the public market, you have, based on the demand, a high fluctuation in the stock price. Okay, so which means because there are few shares to go around, and so if the demand is very strong, the volumes are very strong, all right, price would fluctuate quite a lot. But this would start to change, because eventually, as more and more shares open up as the tradable float in the market, same amount of volume will stop moving the same amount of the range in the stock price of SpaceX. Okay, it hasn't happened yet, but it will start to happen. Now let's go over first the architecture of it, so that you have understanding of that, and then we'll put together with the price action. So the full lockup for most regular shareholders, employees, and early backers expires on December 8th, 2026, 180-day expiry. Okay, you can expect by then, like, you know, the float is pretty much whatever could be out there is out there. Okay. Before that though, even prior to that, there is a rolling release. Tranches of shares will be released mid or around July, August. Up to 20% of eligible restricted shares can be sold. An additional 10% may be released if the stock price trades at 30% or more above the IPO price for 5 out of 10 consecutive trading days. So this will start to happen already from next month onwards. And paired that together with, there's a time-based tranches here of 7% of shares unlock at intervals of 70, 90, 105, 120, and 135 days of the IPO. So just after 2 months of IPO, every 15 days, you have remaining some 7% of shares to unlock. Okay. And then Q3 also, we have an additional 28% of eligible restricted shares become sellable. Restricted shares are more which are only owned by top guys, which we'll get to the point. Elon Musk is not part of that as in this timeline, which brings me to this point down here. Musk is not subjected to any early release provisions. His 6.4 billion shares are subject to 366-day lockup, meaning they cannot be sold until June 12th, 2027. So you have this time between 8th December 2026 till 12th June 2027 that you may not see a much more shares release, and that may give some, if these share releases are really creating a lot of more supply, at least this is the time where in between that things may start to look more stable as per the shares float. Okay. And also significant institutional buyers such as Alphabet, Valor Equity, DFJ Growth are also excluded from the early sales. Their shares are scheduled for release in 6 staged tranches between March 2027 and August 2027. So let me correct myself a bit. So it's not really like until June of next year, from December of this year, that you will find some shares stable float, like, but it will be like maybe just 3 months in between. So technically until August 2027 of next year, you do have slowly and slowly these people can sell without you knowing. Again, this is not special case with SpaceX. All the IPOs are structured this way. Even after things have happened, some companies keep still diluting their shareholders by issuing more of those. Like right now, Strategy is one of those examples. MicroStrategy, I mean to say. And then there are many other stocks or companies that do that. So it's not that once this is all done and done, you know, there is no more issuance. But what this tells us is that the defined timeline, at least, that's something we already know of. Okay. It's not that just one day a shoe would drop, right? Many companies do it that way, right? They'll just tell, oh, we just did that last night, or we're going to do it this day or tomorrow, right? At least this gives you a little bit of forward looking understanding of when you can expect float to come through. Now, I don't expect that, where was I? Yeah, I don't expect that the rolling release of like this time-based tranches of 15 days would create that much of fluctuation in the stock price, because it's not big of a deal. But you gotta start getting careful whenever this starts to happen. So definitely earnings time is because it's a big dump right away. So you gotta be careful during those times. But I'm more worried about March 2027 till August 2027, because that's when these big players who hold too much of shares, right? That's when I'm more worried. Okay, because it has happened on Tesla before as well, that while I'm talking about it, I mean, look, nothing bad about Tesla. Tesla has done a lot great, but this is when, right over here, this is when I think, I'm pretty sure this was this the time, or I think I think this was the time when Elon was just selling and selling and selling. And yeah, don't quote me on the timeline, but it was somewhere maybe here. But look, it happens where whenever they can and they want to, they can do it as well. So that's where the big players, when they do it, that's where you got to be a little bit be careful. So at least this tells you ahead of time what are those timelines looking like. So having said that, how you should look at the price action here. So guys, look, we are already bouncing from that level of 176. Okay, I'm bullish long term on SpaceX, to put it simply. Okay, I am long term bullish on SpaceX, so I will be trading it as well as building my long term position. Right now, I haven't built the long term position on this thing, but I'm mostly looking at it as doing trades here and there. But the point is that we are holding 176. Let's talk the near term technicals first, which was, I would already told you, 176 overall structure until there. Consider it a pullback, but yes, the pullback is part of a multi-day weakness, and accordingly we'll manage the position, which means if you had a bullish position running, multi-day weakness starts, you start getting out. All right, and we had early indications prior to that as well. Now this pullback will start to complete itself, which means we are getting back in the strength once we start to get above 187. Once we regain on SpaceX 187 above and we stay there, is most likely start to turn back into the multi-day strength. Below that, no. If we just come up there, test it and reject, come down, we'll still remain in the multi-day weakness here. The point, another one is that if we lose 176, which most likely will only happen with the retest somewhere right now. Okay, only if we form a lower high or a retest fails, then only. Right now it can happen, but the probability is less that this just forms another red candle. It can happen, but probability is less of that happening. Okay, but if that happens, definitely until those rolling shares comes out, guys, over here, okay, price may stabilize, because I'm pretty sure, like, all these people, these big players, okay, let's not highlight Elon Musk here. He's already a trillionaire, so I don't think he really needs the money. I mean, he can still sell it to if he wants something, but guys, the way their life is structured, they don't really need money this way. Everything is, they have different ways of, spending their life expenses. Okay, the guy maybe just stays in office forever. He may not even have his own address. He might be just sleeping in the office. So, which means it's all business expense for him, right? But the point is that, yeah. So, yeah. So these type of allowance of the shares that can be put back in the market, and also banks having it, right? And banks want to stabilize the price. Like, why did all these people have these investments, right? Like, they want to cash out. Most, like, guys, yeah, some of them really worked for the company for more than a decade, and now they're getting a return of their time there as well, right? So definitely they would like to cash out. And so there's a high likelihood banks would like to, or institutions and all, would like to hold that price, and they have ways by, they can always buy back. They can do the things. They can reduce the float and all of that, right? So now, and that's where the thing is that the price stabilization, and it's still all playable because the float is very small right now. Still, you can already see so nicely getting bought up here, right? So the point being, yes, near term we are stabilizing there. Any pullbacks on this, eventually long term, those are your opportunities to buy. But as we just get above near term 186 above, as we're already getting, multi-day strength is back again. Our overall structure is already holding at 176, the level that I have been telling you. And yeah, so if it comes down like that, like, it's just time to pick up in long-term portfolios, guys, slowly and slowly. Just, it's still a very young price action, so you still have to let it do its thing. And so you shouldn't go like full size in your long-term portfolio, like at a certain price, you got to allocate a budget. Let's say give it a range of $50 or so, $75 or so, and accordingly DCA through that zone once it starts to hit your zone. Better would be if we continue lower, which as you can see the zone is holding, it may not come down lower. But the point is that you should better wait for a structure to complete its downtrend and then buy back up. I talk about all these concepts with my members. There are so many stocks at great opportunities that we are looking to buy, and previously they have made us a lot of money as well. They are giving a second opportunity again. And I have been telling my members that you can wait right now. There's still time, you can wait, because I'm giving them the best possible place to buy. I'm telling them when things are turning around so that they get the best price. Okay, and that's something similarly. If you just saw my video, I just gave you the best price of 176. You can see I told you until 176 overall structure is fine, and you can see yes, the multi-day weakness came that I was telling you about, but we held 176, guys, my friends, right? So that's all I had for you in this video. I'm bullish on SpaceX long term for sure. Any pullbacks are opportunities eventually to build position. Again, price action is still very young. Give it some time to discover itself around. Don't go full in at one price. Allocate yourself a budget and accordingly build through the position if you are long term. If you are doing trading, I just gave you the plan for that as well. Okay, and SpaceX is part of my regular coverage from members as well. So definitely this will be covered extensively in my members only videos also. With that, guys, I'll see you in my next videos. Take care, bye.